Imagine you run a local business
Right.
and a customer gets this glowing, like 10 out of 10 recommendation from their best friend to come see you.
Best case scenario, really.
Exactly. And 10 years ago, they would just walk right through your front door.
Yeah, without a second thought.
But today, that recommendation is, well, it's not enough. In fact, it's barely even the starting line.
It really is a completely different landscape now. I mean, a recommendation used to be the absolute finish line of the marketing race. Now it's just the starter pistol.
Okay, let's unpack this because today's deep dive is taking a massive shift in consumer behavior and bringing it right down to the street level.
Yeah, we have some incredible source material for that.
We do. We've got our hands on this fascinating strategic analysis and a growth roadmap for an Australian healthcare business. It's called BeFit Training Physiotherapy.
And what makes this so compelling is that it actually includes a really candid Q&A with the founder.
Right, and the mission here is crucial for anyone listening, whether you're, running a consulting firm, an agency, a law practice, or even a local bakery.
The mechanics of how you stand out in a crowded market are exactly the same across the board.
Exactly.
Because knowledge is most valuable when it is actually applied. And BeFit has a decade of operation behind it. So those are compounding lessons we get to pull apart today.
Think of this deep dive like a live autopsy of a business strategy. But instead of figuring out why something failed, we are looking at the anatomy of why it is succeeding.
And where it is still experiencing some serious growing pains, honestly.
Right, because no business is perfect. So to kick this off, let's look at the bedrock of their current strategy.
Yeah, this comes from a massive realization by the founder.
Yeah.
They realized the industry has fundamentally shifted from referral-based decision-making to research-based decision-making.
Which is huge.
It is. I mean, for decades, the referral was the holy grail in healthcare, and really in most local service businesses.
Right, your doctor told you to go somewhere, or a friend said, oh, my physio is great.
And that was the end of the transaction. You called and you booked.
But let me push back on this a little bit, because I was reading through the Q&A with the founder in our sources, and they explicitly state that a lot of their growth still comes from word of mouth and existing patient relationships.
Sure, they do say that.
So if a friend already gave a glowing recommendation, why fixate on an educational online footprint? Doesn't obsessing over the website sort of contradict the idea that word of mouth is driving the growth?
What's fascinating here is how we misinterpret the modern trust-building process.
Mm.
We often view word of mouth and digital presence as these competing forces.
Like it has to be one or the other.
Exactly. But in reality, they are two halves of the exact same sequence. The word-of-mouth recommendation merely acts as a prompt.
Okay.
It gets the prospective patient to open a new tab on their browser.
Yeah.
But the website, the content, the social proof, that all serves to validate the referral.
Ah, I see. So the recommendation gets you in the search bar, but it doesn't get you the booking.
Right.
A timeline of trust has basically relocated. Because it used to be built inside the clinic room, during that first consultation where the practitioner shakes your hand and explains their process.
Yes, and now that trust building happens on the smartphone screen before they even dial your number.
Which means education and transparency are the new marketing.
Completely. By showing exactly how they work, what they specialize in, and the long-term outcomes they aim for online, they are establishing that foundational trust.
So the patient forms this rigid, almost unshakable opinion about your business before making any contact at all.
Exactly. Which naturally brings us to what these researching patients are actually looking for.
Right, because if you're a patient with, say, 3 different clinic tabs open on your phone, how does a business avoid looking like everyone else?
It's tough. Because most clinics operate like a highway billboard.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, they are trying to catch the eye of anyone driving past, whether they drive a minivan, a sports car, or a motorcycle.
So they just list the same 5 generic services: neck pain, ankle sprains, sports injuries, post-op rehab.
Exactly. They want to be everything to everyone.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because BeFit took the complete opposite approach.
They really did. They operate much more like a GPS system. They are only talking to a specific person driving to a specific destination.
Right, so instead of the Swiss Army knife, they chose to be a scalpel. They carved out this highly distinct niche centered entirely around strength-based physiotherapy.
And relying heavily on objective data. The roadmap emphasizes their use of DEXA scans, for example.
Well, let's pause on that for a second, because the source material mentions DEXA scans repeatedly as this core differentiator. But we should probably explain why that actually matters to a patient.
Yeah, it's a good point. A DEXA scan actually measures bone density and body composition.
Right, and the psychological shift for the patient is profound here.
How so?
Well, instead of a physio just guessing how your recovery is going based on, how you feel or how far you can bend your knee, a DEXA scan provides hard, undeniable data.
Ah, right. Data about your muscle mass and bone health over time.
Exactly. It turns a clinical opinion into a scientific fact.
And for a patient looking for long-term outcomes rather than just a quick, short-term Band-Aid, that data-driven approach is incredibly compelling.
It totally is, because when you stop trying to be the highway billboard, you can be incredibly precise with who you are targeting.
Which brings us to their geographical strategy, because the analysis lays it out and it is totally intentional.
Yeah, BeFit expanded from Double Bay to two very distinct locations, Edgecliff and Coogee.
And the psychological profiles of those two demographics are completely different.
Like night and day.
Edgecliff targets a very specific, affluent, professional catchment. Areas like Woolahara and Paddington.
Right, the patients there tend to be older, they are often executives, maybe dealing with post-surgical rehab.
Yeah, and their mindset is heavily focused on performance and longevity. They want data to prove they are preserving their quality of life as they age.
Contrast that with the Coogee Clinic, which targets the Eastern Beaches demographic.
A totally different vibe.
Completely. That is a younger, highly active, sport-driven crowd. They're heavily tied into the surf and ocean lifestyle.
They just want to get back in the water or back to their run club.
Exactly. And the genius here is that BeFit maintains the exact same core clinical philosophy across both. It's all strength and data.
But their messaging adapts perfectly to the specific expectations of those two different communities.
And all of this precise targeting is then backed up by critical social proof.
Which is massive. Across those two locations, BeFit has accumulated over 539 Google reviews.
539, that is wild for a local physio clinic.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, in a research-based economy, review counts are often the very first thing a prospective patient sees.
It's the new front door. I mean, if someone is doing a Google Map search, 500 reviews screams authority before the user even clicks the link.
Oh, absolutely. But it also raises a problem. What happens when that highly motivated, researching patient actually walks through that digital front door?
Right, because that number is a powerful weapon, but it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. What happens when all those searchers hit a website that doesn't actually match the hype of the reviews?
And this is where the strategic analysis exposes a very real vulnerability for them. They call it the 10-second test.
Yes, the marketing clinical positioning gap.
Right. So you've built this beautiful data-driven methodology. The patient reads the reviews, they are totally convinced, and they click the link to your website.
And then?
If the homepage doesn't explicitly scream, strength-based, data-driven long-term outcomes in the first 10 seconds.
That researching patient just clicks away.
Exactly. They default to the assumption that BeFit is just another generic physio clinic.
So to fix that, the analysis suggests a complete overhaul of the homepage hero section.
It has to be immediate.
Yeah, it must immediately answer three things: what we do, who it's for, and why it's different.
And it requires visual proof, right?
Yes, you can't just say you use DEXA scans. You need actual imagery of the scans.
Photos of the gym-based rehab in action.
Clear before and after data. Show, don't just tell.
So what does this all mean? The analysis calls this a conversion problem hiding inside a positioning problem.
How do you mean?
Well, I look at it like having a world-class Michelin star restaurant, but hanging a confusing generic diner sign above the door.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. People walk in expecting quick pancakes, and you hand them a 7-course tasting menu.
And they walk out completely confused.
Exactly. And you might sit there thinking your food is bad, but really your sign is wrong.
That perfectly captures the friction of mismatched expectations. But positioning is really only the first half of the conversion equation.
Okay, so let's say you fix the sign. The patient understands the menu, they want the Michelin star experience, and they click Contact Us.
The analysis actually found a massive invisible leak at this exact moment.
The invisible leak. Let's walk through what that actually looks like for a patient.
They identified a major systems and automation gap here.
Right, so imagine a prospective patient sitting on their couch. It's like 9 p.m. Their knee is throbbing, they are anxious, and they are doing real-time comparison shopping with 3 different clinic tabs open.
A very realistic scenario.
Very. And they fill out a contact form for BeFit.
Now, in a traditional setup, that email just sits in an inbox until the receptionist arrives at 9 a.m. the next day.
Just crickets for 12 hours.
Exactly. But the clinic down the street, they have an automated inquiry routing system.
So the moment that patient hits submit,
They get an instant, reassuring text message. It acknowledges their pain, explains the next steps, and offers a direct link to an online booking calendar.
wow. So the clinic that responds the fastest with the most professional process just wins.
They do, because they alleviate the patient's immediate anxiety in real time.
They basically win the patient while the other clinic is still asleep.
It is fascinating how systems and positioning are intrinsically linked here.
Yeah, you can have the best clinical positioning in the world, but if the system to book a table is broken, it just doesn't matter.
And the founder themselves admitted this in the Q&A.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When asked about the biggest unpulled growth lever for the next 3 years to scale effectively, they pointed directly at systems, technology, and consistency.
Makes sense, like automated appointment reminders.
Post-visit feedback loops, and crucial nurture sequences for leads who research but don't book right away.
So they know they have the clinical model dialed in. Now they just have to build the machine around it to make sure it scales without leaking revenue.
Exactly. And if they manage to fix those invisible leaks, if they align the digital front door with the back-end automation, there's a final step in their roadmap.
Pouring more of the right kind of traffic into that system.
Right. Their explicit 3-year goal is to build undeniable authority in strength, bone health, and body composition.
Which brings us to what I think is honestly the most mind-blowing data point in the entire strategic analysis.
The content data.
Yes. The sources note that a prospective patient who reads exactly 3 of BeFit's educational articles is dramatically more likely to book an appointment.
Not just that, but they are more likely to be a high-quality patient who actually understands and commits to the clinic's specific approach.
3 articles, I mean, it sounds almost suspiciously simple, but it is profound when you unpack the psychology of what is happening there.
Let's slow down and really look at that.
Yeah.
Because why is 3 the magic number?
Well, it feels like there's a very deliberate psychological shift happening with each piece of content.
Article 1 is probably just curiosity.
Right. They Google, why does my knee hurt when I run? And they find a piece of content and they think, okay, this is helpful.
Then comes Article 2, which is verification.
Verification. Okay, so they click a related link on your site about how strength training prevents future knee pain.
And now, the practitioner goes from being just a helpful stranger to a knowledgeable resource. The patient is verifying that your philosophy aligns with their desire for a long-term fix.
And by Article 3, it shifts from verification to total trust and buy-in.
Exactly. They are reading about how DEXA scans map out a recovery plan.
So by the time they finish that third piece, they aren't looking for just any physio anymore.
No, they are looking for this specific physio. They arrive completely pre-sold on the methodology.
That is incredible leverage for a business. But the analysis also points out a critical gap for BeFit here.
Yes, the gap between the content itself and the distribution of that content.
Because the sources explicitly state that the written blog content is genuinely good. It hits all those psychological touch points we just talked about.
However, content alone doesn't build authority.
Now, let me play devil's advocate here, though, because I hear this from business owners all the time.
The field of dreams mentality.
Exactly. If you're listening to this and you've ever spent 10 hours writing an amazing blog post or recording a highly detailed video only to get, 3 views.
It's frustrating.
It is. People think if I build genuinely great content, won't Google's algorithm just recognize the quality and bring the patients to me? Shouldn't the work speak for itself?
This raises an important question about the modern attention economy. We absolutely have to dismantle that myth.
It just doesn't work that way anymore.
No. If you build it, they will come. Simply does not apply to the internet today. Authority is not defined by what you publish.
Then what is it defined by?
Authority is what other people recognize about you because they have seen you repeatedly in their own world across different mediums.
So how do they fix that gap? What does a thought leadership distribution strategy actually look like in practice for a local business?
Well, you can't just post a blog and hope. You have to take that deep, written content and repurpose it.
Into video, audio, short-form social media.
Exactly. It means active outreach to relevant podcasts and media outlets. It means the founders stepping out of the clinic and being highly visible at industry conferences.
Or in adjacent professional communities. It basically means getting into the spaces where your specific audience already has out.
That's it. A practice's content is only ever as valuable as its reach.
You could have the cure to a disease on page 42 of a blog nobody reads.
Exactly. If you aren't actively pushing that content into the spaces where your affluent executives in Edgecliff or your actor surfers in Coogee are already spending their time.
Whether that's a local running podcast, a targeted YouTube channel, or even creating partnership content for a local gym's newsletter.
If you are doing that, you are invisible. Distribution is the engine of authority.
That really brings the entire picture into focus. So, to bring this all together for you listening, if you want to stand out online in a completely saturated market, you have to shift your mindset.
You really do.
You must recognize that your online presence is no longer just a digital flyer. It is an extension of your clinic, your office, or your storefront. It's the new front door.
And you must be aggressively clear about what you do. Just like BeFit leaning hard into strength and DESA data.
Don't be the highway billboard. Be the GPS.
And you have to fix the invisible leaks in your systems.
Right, the systems that lose the real-time researchers who are comparing you to the guy down the street at 9 o'clock at night.
And finally, you must distribute your content actively, not passively. You have to be in their world.
And above all, as the founder themselves advised, focus on delivering a genuinely high-quality experience because that will always be the strongest driver of growth.
It really is a masterclass in adaptation. But I want to leave you with a concept to mull over on your own today.
Okay, let's hear it.
It builds off that 3 articles insight we discussed earlier. We learned today that a prospect who consumes 3 pieces of educational content before calling is dramatically more likely to become a high-quality, long-term customer.
Right, they show up completely ready to work.
So think about your own business or your own field. We spend so much time trying to remove every single barrier for our customers.
True, we rush them to a buy now button or a contact us form as fast as humanly possible.
But instead of rushing them, how could you design an experience that actively delays the transaction?
Wait, really? Delay it?
Yeah. What if you built a system that gently forced a prospect to consume 3 pieces of your best thinking before they were even allowed to book?
Oh, wow. That is a fascinating flip of the script. What if a little bit of friction is actually your best filter?
It is something very much worth considering the next time you look at your own customer journey.
A brilliant question to leave off on. If a little friction is your best filter. I love that.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you some real, actionable insights to look at your own strategies in a totally new light. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we will catch you on the next one.